Lesson 5.6, Reproduction, Fertilization, and Development. Learning goal. You will be able to describe and label reproductive structures and how gametes are produced. Let's start off with the big idea, which is organisms reproduce to pass on genetic information or DNA to their offspring, so to their child. Reproduction allows for organisms to create new life in the form of offspring. There are two types of reproduction. The first type is asexual reproduction. This is a type of reproduction that uses mitosis to make copies, and there is only one parent involved. The offspring are typically genetically identical, meaning they have 100% of the DNA as their parent. So they're basically clones. One example is in bacteria or some plants, like when a plant grows from cutting. So in this example here, you see that we have a main plant, a piece of the flower was cut off, and then it was put in soil, and that baby plant will now grow into an identical version genetically to the main plant. Next, we have sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction uses meiosis to make two important cells, the egg cells and sperm cells. There are two parents involved in this process. Each parent contributes half of their DNA, so roughly 50% from the sperm and 50% from the egg. Offspring are genetically different from their parents. This is because genetic variation is being created in this process, meaning that there are new combinations of DNA being mixed through the process of fertilization, which is when the egg and sperm join. In this diagram here, I have labeled meiosis because that's the process that makes the sperm, and that's the same process that makes the egg. Only when those two gametes join do we have the process called fertilization. We're going to take a look at what happens after fertilization. So first, it has to be fertilized. The egg and sperm join inside of a female body, and in some cases inside of a lab. This is where the zygote forms, and the zygote is just the first cell after the egg and sperm join. Then mitosis begins. This is just when the cell starts to divide or make copies of themselves. And they do this in several stages. So first, they go from one cell to two cells. And then each of those cells split. And then it becomes 4 cells. Those 4 cells split. And it continues going and going and going until you start to have thousands and thousands of cells. Over time, the cells dividing, they begin to specialize and become different types of cells. And that forms into an embryo, then a fetus, and then eventually a baby. But due to the cells specializing, you have different jobs. So some cells become eye cells, some cells become toe cells, some become skin cells, and all the different muscles and tissues that we spoke about in our previous lessons form after during these stages here. So cells getting their special job is called cell differentiation. So all cells in your body have the same DNA except for the sperm and egg cells. But cells become different because genes are turned on or off in the process called cell differentiation. As cells develop, their structure changes, and that determines their function. So a nerve cell looks different than a muscle cell because they have different parts of their DNA turned on. But it's all the same DNA. Now let's look at the reproductive systems. In the female reproductive system, the fallopian tube is where the sperm meets the egg. So the sperm travels through the vagina, up the cervix, through the uterus, swims all the way into the fallopian tube where hopefully there is an egg waiting to be fertilized. Once the egg and sperm meet in the fallopian tube, the new cell or the zygote gets implanted on the uterus where it will grow and eventually become a baby. Here we have the ovary, and its job is to store the eggs until they are fully developed. And then we have the uterus. This is where the baby grows. So this empty space here gets really large during pregnancy, and the baby is stored. During pregnancy, the placenta helps with exchanging oxygen, nutrients, and waste between the mother and baby. And this is connected through the umbilical cord. Next, we have the male reproductive system. And first we have the vas deferens. This is the tube that transports sperm. The testicles. This is where the sperm is actually produced and the hormone testosterone is made that helps with the secondary sex characteristics such as growing facial hair, growing armpit hair, penis development. And then we have your urethra. This job is to carry the sperm and urine from outside the body.